Hi, everyone, and welcome to Nourishing Wisconsin, a farm to institution conference hosted by REAP Food Group and FairShare CSA Coalition. My name is Aiden, and I work at REAP Food Group. REAP is a nonprofit in Madison that works to cultivate connections with communities to build a resilient local food system. FairShare is also a nonprofit based in Madison with a mission to build resilient food communities by investing in farmers and empowering eaters. While both of our organizations are based in Madison, we also both have larger programmatic reaches. Reprogramming is statewide with the Farm Fresh Atlas and Farm to School, including Healthy School Meals for All. And FairShare expands out of Wisconsin to the whole Midwest, and in some cases nationwide, supporting CSA farmers with the Midwest Vegetable Growers Network and the Organic Vegetable Farm Manager Apprenticeship Program, to name a few. So REAP and FairShare have been conducting complementary program for years, and I've been really grateful for the opportunity to work on this collaborative project. Thanks to North Central SARE. I want to take a second to shout out the rest of the planning committee. If they can just wave wherever they're standing. Paulina Baker, back there from REAP. And then our new and very good friends, Beth and Chang Rai, who are over here from FairShare. If you have any questions today, one of the four of us is the one to ask. And if you ask the wrong one, we'll point you in the right direction to the right one. Okay, so you might have caught that resilient is a word that both REAP and FairShare have chosen to include in our missions, the definition of which is able to withstand or recover quickly from difficult conditions. I can go slower. The state of our food system right now is not super resilient. We have pockets of resilience, but the system as a whole isn't. And while that's mostly outwardly visible right now in emergency food, with the food share funding crisis, it's evident in every sector. REAP and FairShare are both organizations that work towards lasting structural systems change, and I'm guessing that that's something that all of you care about because you're here today as well. And so we hope that this event can help you do that. Our goal here is to give you a day to share knowledge, foster existing connections, and build new relationships that will result in getting more locally grown food into Wisconsin institutions, which is a key step in making our food system more resilient. This conference is our first of two supported by SARE. The second one will take place next fall, and exact location is TBD, but we're really hoping to head further north. To support the conferences, we've been hosting a quarterly virtual community of practice, bringing groups together to build community knowledge and identify gaps for wholesale distribution to regional institutions, which is something that we're continuing here with all of you today. And I see some faces in the room who have been on those calls. So hi, Sam, and thanks for coming again. And we're really glad that all of you speakers, sponsors, and attendees are here to join us. I want to give a really big thank you to our Farmer Steering Committee for this event. We've been meeting with them periodically over the last year, and we've been getting their feedback and insight as we narrow down the topics and speakers for the day ahead. Ken and Shane Canneberg of Vine and Virtue Farm, Philip Yang from Yang's Produce, and Heather Tomon from Full Circle Community Farm and Slow Farmers Co-op weren't able to make it down today. But in the audience, and if you guys could give a quick wave, we have the wonderful Yinhua Yang from Live Jewelry Farm. I've been told by Paulina that we might have one of their last strawberry harvests on the table back there, so enjoy it while it's there. Tommy Stauffer from Vitruvian Farms. And Sebastian Hassel from Rudolph Hassel Legacy Enterprises, Firm Footing Farm, and the Ashe Cooperative. So we're really grateful to them. I also want to give a really big thank you to all of our tabling sponsors, Maize, Green Box Compost, Marble Seed, the Common Market Great Lakes, Blue Farm Chips, and Wisconsin Farmers Union for additional support in making the event possible. You can see the full list of our event sponsors on the back of your program, and please check out their tables in all of our downtime today. I have a couple of housekeeping notes before I introduce our first speaker. Please fill out your bingo boards. We were really excited for them. Use them to network and meet people during the day. If you really want to yell bingo when you get a bingo, you can, as long as it's not in the middle of a session. But if you don't want to yell bingo, you can just come find me. And we have some fun little goodie bags set aside for the first 5 people who get a bingo. So, and I believe it's on the instructions, but it doesn't have to be like a full blackout bingo. It can be like 5 across or, a standard bingo win. There are two different ways you can reach the bathrooms. One is back through that gray door and through a couple more doors. Never mind, it's locked again. Out that way and down the hall in the back, you should be able to see like the water fountains from there. So it's just straight down the big hall. And then please enjoy the food. We'll have a really yummy local spread. There are some QR codes on the food table, and you can see where all of your food is coming from. We have quite a few of the people who produce the food in the room today. So we're excited to have them. All right. So, our first speaker of the day and opening our event is Sara George, who is the Farmer Focused Program Manager at Renewing the Countryside. She works on farm to school, farm to early care, and farmers market aggregation program areas, as well as operating a small vegetable farm, being a mother of three, and being the market manager for the Red Wing Farmers Market. She was one of the first people today who put all four of those little stickers on her name tags, and that feels very fitting. And after the first conversation that I had with her, I think I pretty immediately emailed and asked her to come speak at this event. I think she's doing incredible work. She leads Renewing the Countryside's farmers market aggregation program, and through that has been able to build a network of farmers markets in Minnesota that act as an aggregation hub for their farmers, creating a unique model for institutional purchasing. So, Sara, please come up and join us.
See if we can hear it any better this way. Does that help? Awesome. Good morning, everybody. It's so fun being here today. As Aiden mentioned, I'm Sara George. I am the Farmer Focused Program Manager here at Renewing the Countryside. Renewing the Countryside is a nonprofit organization that supports the rural food system here in the upper Midwest. We do that by connecting people to resources that support them to activate change. Here are a few of the programs that we do at Renewing the Countryside. We have our Farmland Access Hub. We have urban agriculture. We have Minnesota Women in Conservation. I've worked on Wisconsin Women in Conservation. We've got Farm to Kids and so much more. Kind of near and dear to my heart is our Go Farm Connect program, where we have farmers who help farmers access USDA resources. It does get a little complicated. Whoa, my dinger. No? Oh, there you go. It does get a little complicated when you're trying to untie the acronyms that the USDA uses. And so our farmers have actually used those programs and can help work side by side with farmers, particularly specialty crop producers, as they're navigating those resources. So I love that project. But today I'm here to talk to you about our Farmers Market Hub project so that you can hear and understand ways that we have made collaboration, community, and connections work across the food shed over in Minnesota. So several years back, boy, I don't want to date myself, maybe 12, 13, 14 years ago, I was the market manager and a vendor over at the Wabasha Farmers Market. I was handed a 3-ring binder and a bank statement, and they said, hey, we need a new market manager, and if you're willing, here you go. For anybody that has been, is there any market managers in the room? A bank statement and a 3-ring binder with a few notes was not quite what I needed to prepare for, let me tell you. So they said, good luck, and off I went. See, we had really loyal customers. Our vendors were coming consistently each and every week, and they were super committed. But there always seemed to be an abundance of produce left over at the end of the day. And as the market manager, I felt very responsible. I felt really bad about that. So with local food growing in popularity and institutional buyers like schools, hospitals, and restaurants looking for ways to gain access to local foods, I thought, what can I do to make a difference? I literally, you guys, had vendors taking their arm across the table with produce that was just available for sale and scooping it into a 5-gallon pail to bring home and feed the pigs. So this is no joke. This really, truly happened at my market. Aiden mentioned earlier, I'm a farmer. Farming is amazing. I love farming, but farming is hard. It's really, really hard. And there's not a lot of things that we can do to make it easier. But as a market manager, I wanted to see how I could do it. Often we share the sexy side of farming, the beautiful produce, the freshly harvested, piled high on the tables, ready for that customer to come and get. But the truth is, it doesn't matter if it's raining or if it's windy, if it's 100 degrees outside or the grass is wet in the dew, there's always work that needs to be done. And holidays are often vacations too. This was the last holiday, literally just a few weeks back. I was out weeding the berries because when you have that much produce, you got that many weeds too. So holidays, when everybody else is out celebrating Labor Day and everything, our farmers are out working in the fields trying to make it so that we can get things done. And anybody that's heard me talk before has heard me say it. It takes a hell of a lot of radishes to make a house payment. So support your farmers because it's true. It does. It takes a hell of a lot of radishes. So now we're going to head back to the farmer's market. You see, as a farmer, I felt obligated to help the farmers. I hated seeing that produce that they spent so much time and energy harvesting, washing, packing, and getting to the market being fed to the pigs. So I wanted to find a means for them to sell that food. That's going to bring us to what is a farmer's market hub. You see all that gorgeous produce on the tables over there? Our project team hatched a plan. It's kind of a different one, you guys, where we wanted to base a food hub out of existing infrastructure that's already there, the farmer's market. No brick and mortar facility, no special equipment, no extra trips for the farmers to come and drop off their produce because they're coming to the market anyway. That one is a bit aspirational. We're still working on that. No requirement for the farmer to lower their prices and the only investment was the investment in people, not infrastructure. The goal was to make the connections for farmers and to institutions. And I wanted to figure out how to do it. And I began doing it in Wabasha, Minnesota, where I was managing that market. What I knew I needed was some grant funding to help kick it off. And when I applied for grant funding, I found out I was doing it completely illegal. I didn't realize in Minnesota, you actually had to have a license to aggregate food. When you're selling food that's not your own, you had to have that license. And I figured it out by sitting at the table up in St. Paul, face to face with 5 of the top people at the Department of Agriculture. They're like, yeah, don't ever show us that photo again. It happens. It was crazy. But now they understood what we wanted to do. When they came to my farmer's market to get an inspection, the inspector had to come out and find out how we were going to do it. And when they came to my market for this inspection, he said, I can't give you a license. And I said, why not? And he said, because I'm here to inspect and there's nothing to inspect. We need something. I don't care if it's a 2-foot by 2-foot building that's attached to the ground that you never use. I need to mark a box that says I inspected it. So I brought in Renewing the Countryside, the Minnesota Institute of Sustainable Agriculture, the Minnesota Farmers Market Association, and we went to battle. And battle we did. We're like, how does this make our food safer? What are we doing differently when we don't have the building and when we do have the building? And this team got together and we wrote up fact sheets and we went side by side, not only with the University of Minnesota food safety team, we went together with Department of Agriculture, knowing full well that while we were sitting with the food at the farmer's market, we needed MDA's approval, Department of Agriculture. But well, as soon as we stepped into an institution, we needed to work with Department of Health. And so we brought them into the table. We worked with the local food advisory committee and many, many more. So we put a plan in place. And in 2017, Wabasha Farmers Market was the first market in the state of Minnesota to receive a wholesale food handler's license. Now, I see a lot of familiar faces in the room. Any of you that know me know I'm not a quiet person. I kind of want to share these findings as much as I can. And I wanted to replicate it. I wanted to make sure that others had the ability to do this for their community as well. And that is exactly the kind of work Renewing the Countryside does. We amplify the incredibly amazing things that are happening out there across the state, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa. And we want to do that. So we wanted to start with our schools. Anybody that's had a chance to work with schools knows that school is like a three-legged stool. You've got your classroom, your cafeteria, and your community that are going to be out there. There's three different components, and we wanted to kind of understand them. So in the cafeteria, obviously procurement is a no-brainer. But without the other two legs of the stool, it just tips over. It doesn't win in that community. It fails. And we want to see ways that we can build food systems that work. And so we wanted to build some of that classroom connection too, inviting the farmers in with their green beans into the first grade classrooms, showing them that they could grow a seed in a little red Dixie cup, right? We also wanted to bring the community in and rally around local food happening in farm to school sales so that we could start really getting that education throughout the community about these sales that were happening. With farm to school, it benefits everyone from the students to the teachers, the administrators, to the parents and the community. And when you have this, providing opportunities, you're building family and community engagement. Sounds great, right? So why isn't it happening everywhere? I got really frustrated. Like, this sounds amazing. How come the schools are saying no? Or why aren't they making these purchases? So we started to ask some questions. Questions like, who does the ordering for you? How often are you placing these orders? What day of the week do you want deliveries? What day of the, or I asked him, what are some of your biggest obstacles for sourcing locally? How many buyers do we have in the room today? Yeah, a couple of you out there. So the buyer obstacles, I'm guessing you guys are having the same obstacles that we had. So just imagine you're the food service director at a local school. It's your job to place the orders for the next week or two. You have to reach out to 10 different farmers to have enough tomatoes for your planned menu. No one has the spinach that you had hoped for this week. 6 different farmers are planning to be delivering potatoes. John likes text, Jane likes emails, Joe likes it when you call him. Plus, you have to stop what you're doing every single time a farmer knocks on that back door because schools are locked during the hours that the schools are open, right? Each farmer is going to hand you a unique invoice. How much time do they have to dedicate to supporting local? Plus, there's the confusion about whether or not it's legal to buy from local farms. If you take nothing away today except this, product of the farm is legal and it is an approved source for purchasing of local foods. Institutions, individuals in the community, anybody can purchase from local farms. In the upper right-hand corner, there's this myth. I'm telling you, there is not a magic wand in the back of a Cisco truck that makes their food safer than our local farms. Just going to say it. And then we have our farmer obstacles. So our farmers are amazing in the fields. They have the ability to grow, tend, and harvest a diverse set of crops in our short summers that we have in the upper Midwest. Often, farmers don't have the time to dedicate to leaving the farm and establishing relationships with buyers or delivering products to 3 to 4 different markets throughout the week. They know farmers markets, but they're unsure about wholesale accounts. They're unsure about pricing, and they have concerns about the large quantities that are going to be needed. It's pack standards are something they've never even considered or thought about. And with so many questions, it's easier to just back away. Of course, we listened and we heard, but we didn't stop there. We did a fun session called the muddling session, where we got together and just kind of just threw it all out. Like, what are some of these barriers? How can it happen? Up here, you're going to see two farmers. You see a food service director, a principal, a superintendent, three different schools in this particular photo. I think we had 10 or 11 different schools and a dozen or two farmers that came into the mix and started sharing their story. We asked our schools first, this is how we started, if you could buy anything local, what would it be? And we had them fill out the list. And then we gave the same list to our farmers. And we said, what are you growing on your farm? With the data from that, we put together a supply and demand spreadsheet. And the schools learned what was available locally, and the farmers learned, excuse me, what they could grow more of. But more importantly, we had a better understanding of each other's challenges. We heard how farmers could tell that they had tomatoes coming in their field, looking down those rows and being like, yeah, I'm going to have those ones will be ready next week. You can't really dedicate. This is how many quantity. This is the quantity I'm going to have available. The schools, when they're ordering things like, let's just take lettuce as an example from a local farm, they're going to have to wash it. They're going to have to core it, wash it, drain it, spin it, chop it before it can go in the salad bar. And when they're serving lettuce from Bix or Cisco, they take a scissor out of the drawer and they cut it open and they pour it in the salad bar. So number one, it's a lot more labor. Number two, the time it takes to do that, they can't just look at the students and say, hang on, we're almost done with this. You got to have it out there on time, ready for them. And then we went and looked at the elephant in the room, pricing. And it's where no one wants to go, right? It seems like that elephant is there. And we decided to be fully transparent about it. We compared our pricing and we crossed off things that just didn't make sense. In our community, potatoes were no, it's not, we didn't even come close. But we started noticing trends like the cucumbers were actually more cost effective at a farmer's market than they were from Bix or Cisco. For farm to school to work, you need to start where you can and make baby steps in the right direction. Maybe not looking at every component of the meal, but instead looking at items you can put on the salad bar in the summer meal program, or to the fruit and vegetable options that they offer. Apples is a no-brainer. But we looked at things like the pricing, what it took to prepare that item, how the farmers could scale up, and then the bigger question, the biggest thing that got schools to buy was what comes the same from Bix and Cisco as it does from our local farms. Because you're not adding labor then, we're actually doing apples for apples, pun intended. And we did it all online. Our goal was to use an online sales platform that we could eliminate the middleman, right? The farmers could put what they had available on an online sales platform, and the market simply looks at who placed what orders and was able to start making those deliveries, aggregating those orders and making those deliveries. The platform would track the who, how, and how much for us. Choosing a platform was a bit tricky though. Trying to make the right decision on a platform, we researched 26 online platforms where you could actually aggregate product or combine it and had multiple farmers listed on the same platform. And anyone that knows an online platform, and I'm curious to get to know you, Patrick. We had this car. The platform is the key to your success. So if you could click on that bottom one. Here's an example of what our online platform looks like for our Red Wing Farmers Market Hub right now. We're using a platform called Open Food Network. And on Open Food Network, it's fully transparent. So you can see the items that are coming from each of the farms. with their photos. You're going to see like Sweetland Orchards and Young Acres. And she's going to scroll down now to Howling Moon Farm. There we go. And click on it. You can see who the farmers, where that farm is. You can see their address. We're not hiding their contact information. You can see their phone number and everything. But buying online is what our wholesale customers are used to. They want to be able to add individual items into the shopping cart from multiple farms with one checkout, one delivery, one invoice, and one payment. And we can do just that by having it all sitting in our online platform. And it makes it nice and slick for our customers. Now, if you want to bounce back to the PowerPoint, Sunshine, if you go to on the bottom of our, don't click on this one, sweetie, but if you go to the Farmers Market Hub website that's listed here, you also will notice that there's names of the different communities throughout Minnesota, because I told you I was loud. We do it all over the state now, that are also doing this. And if you click on the name of the city, you're going to see the different platforms that they're using and what's listed on their stores as well. Now, we didn't get here without our challenges. Things like helping farmers with pricing, scaling up, packaging, consistency, and even pack standards. Because our farmers, they knew farmers markets. They don't understand all of this other stuff when it comes to doing wholesale sales, selling to institutions like buyers at institutions. We had things that we found tools that helped us, like this pack standards book. This is from the Good Acre, which is it's a brick and mortar food hub. Brick and mortar meaning they have a building that they are doing their food hub work out of. The thing I love about this particular resource is that you can see, don't make the carrots this size, make them this size. This is a fully laminated book. I believe it has 18 or 19 different products in it that you can flip through. I left mine at the Emerging Farmers Conference this weekend, or I would hold it up because I'm darn proud of this resource. There's no language barriers with this one. And so it's laminated with a 3-ring binder. The farmers can bring in the field and they can say, you know what, this is what they want the carrots to look like. This is what they don't. This is from the Good Acre, and actually it's on their website as well. So if you Google the Good Acre and go to their farmer resources, it's an incredible resource. And I believe it's also on our Farmers Market. I'm almost positive it's on our farmersmarkethub.org website. There's 3 different produce standard reference tools on there. One is from the Minneapolis Public Schools. I didn't put it in because I had a shorter time today, but that one, they have a baseball right next to the package or the item. So they have a photo of a baseball, like this is how big we want it. This is what we're going to do with it. So we're going to peel it and chop it, or we're going to process it. We want it washed or don't we want it washed? What pack sizes do we want? That's an awesome resource too from the Minneapolis Public Schools. But this one, 18 or 19, and they have a grant now to expand it out to even more. So we're hoping that they have up to 40 different products coming soon. I saw. So there's a comment that anybody working with LFPA also has a resource like this that they're using. So this is an amazing resource. And resources like these matter. We work together with food hubs instead of against the other food hubs in the state of Minnesota. They are competitors of ours, but gosh, if we work together and collaborate, we can celebrate the wins. We're not reinventing the wheel. And this right here is why it matters. Which one of these boxes would you prefer receiving if you're a wholesale buyer? The one on the left? And we go again. Which one of these boxes? And as a farmer, we use these items on our table It's not hurting us, but wholesale buyers won't accept things like this. And so coming through and working to help train the farmers with understanding what kind of items they could use, should be putting in the boxes, what the expectations are, and how they can do that is really an important component to this. So now back to reality. Told you this hasn't been without a lot of changes. So in food system work, change is the only constant. Partners, funding, and community needs, they all evolve in unforeseen ways. What appears to be a setback or a stalled project or a lost funder or an idea that proves harder to evolve to execute than expected often becomes a valuable reset. Pivots can sharpen purpose, strengthen partnerships, and create a space for innovation. And a pivot is not a failure, it's a strategy. So I want you guys to think about that as you're going forward. Pivots are often born out of circumstances that are out of your control. And back when COVID hit, our farmers market hubs, we started this in 2017, online sales, long before COVID. And it was hard getting our wholesale buyers on the platforms. It was hard getting our farmers to try new things. But when COVID hit, we were popular. Everybody wanted to know how to get their farmers markets online. Farmers markets were closing across the nation. The Farmers Market Coalition reached out and asked us, how can we move these sales, all these farmers markets online? Customers were able to simply drive up with their order number and show us what number we'd grab their order off the tables, and they could support farmers in a new way. Our market started to expand our online ordering. Instead of sitting outside at winter markets, we did online drive-through winter markets, and we got really creative with it. The important part was that we pivoted, and it's not why a pivot was needed, but how we responded to it. With the right approach, pivots can become clarifying moments that help organizations focus on what matters the most. We very quickly realized infrastructure that we had none of was a need we had. And even if it was small, so this is our first walk-in cooler that we received for the Farmers Market Hub project. It wasn't perfect, but it worked well for us. Other hubs started getting their walk-in coolers. Here's the cooler from the Red Wing Farmers Market. We've had a fun game. We posted on Facebook saying, name our trailer, so that people could see, A, we had an online store. B, let's have fun with some punny names. And Chili Willy, as you see here, was our winner. We were pretty tickled about that one. And we got a lot of marketing out of this one and quite a few orders. Some of our hub managers started thinking outside the box. There was a relatively cost-effective school bus in Aiken, Minnesota, that they decided to paint, cover the windows, put some plastic between the walk-in there, and retrofit it with an air conditioner and a cool bot. It was no longer a school bus. It's now a cool bus. Yeah, we like that one. So one of the most common traps when you're working in local food system work is trying to go too big too quickly. Those online orders came in, and they came in fast and furious. The urgency to solve systemic food challenges can make it tempting to design large, ambitious projects. But pivots can be an invitation to slow down and consider a phased approach. Coolbot trailers totally getting jam-packed on the left side over here. Pilots, pop-ups, operations, and programmatic head starts or informal partnerships often provide the real-world test and proof points that you need to unlock further funding or support for our local food system. We sometimes hesitate to admit when we're struggling, when we're fearing it's going to reflect poorly on our capacity. But in practice, transparency builds trust. And when we name our challenges or we ask our partners if we can reshape a strategy or an approach, our partners can step in and help. New collaborators start emerging, and funders can see that you're being thoughtful and adaptive. I can tell you that there's a lot of times where we were like, what are we doing? These boxes, if they look heavy, it's because they are. It's not just a heavy lift on the programmatic side. It's a heavy lift for our farmers. It's a heavy lift for our hub managers. And it's a heavy lift in our community. I've lifted many of those boxes. They're heavy. The stigma around pivots is real, and often it's self-inflicted. But in reality, stakeholders understand that projects evolve, and what matters clearly is that we share what we've learned and how we're dealing with those lessons learned, how we're going to communicate openly. We're then inviting trust and collaboration to make it easier to navigate what's happening for a reset. The willingness to adjust course publicly is not a weakness, but it's rather a hallmark of effective community-driven planning. And in the long run, it can set a clearer path towards a food system that can be more resilient and successful. Here, you're going to see some of the organizations that Renewing the Countryside really collaborates well with. Many of you are in the room. It's awesome having you here. Pivots become easier when you're not carrying the load alone. Just as food systems thrive on cooperation, so do organizations that drive them. Too often, well-intentioned groups try to go it alone. But systemic change requires networks, not silos. And when you hit a roadblock, it can be a perfect opportunity to broaden the table and invite new partners to bring ideas, capacity, and resources. Cooperative or network models, shared infrastructure, and cross-sector collaborations not only mitigate the project's overall risk, but can also amplify the impact. Now, not quite yet, but pivots are a moment for you to step back. I talked a little bit about how we're pivoting and how local food systems are happening throughout Minnesota. What you see on the screen right here is the 7 farmers market hubs that are located throughout the state of Minnesota that we have, that I'm mentoring right now. And our farmers market hub website is where she's going right now. Thank you. And on this website, I wanted her to go through the website so you could see this map is available online. A unique thing happened a few years ago. How many of you just went to the Emerging Farmers Conference this weekend? I think there's a few of you I saw that were in this room here. So the Emerging Farmers Conference happens in Minnesota annually, the first or second weekend in November, and it's amazing. We're out there supporting our emerging farmers that are looking for resources. And the Emerging Farmers Conference Planning Committee came to the food hubs, not just these 7 farmers market hubs, but if you click on those brick and mortar hubs, there we go. There's 2 brick and mortar hubs located here in the state as well, and said, can you come and present on the farmers market hub project? And on any how to get into a food hub here in Minnesota. And we thought, of course, but we had to get a plan in place. We started calling each other on a monthly basis, having a meeting, planning out what that session was going to look like. And we couldn't believe all of the similarities of the work that we were doing. It was amazing to be able to connect with other food hubs in the state that understood the challenges that we were facing because they were facing them too. It was amazing for them to say, hey, we've got this resource, but we don't know what to do about this. And we had answers and started sharing amongst each other, networking and collaborating, bringing a big team together, choosing some of the smallest, most meaningful items. And we began starting working together. So we met, oh gosh, I would say it was once a month for about 8 months planning for that conference. And when the conference actually came to fruition, we were like, we need to continue meeting. Like, this is the best call of the month where we're getting together. We started what we called the food aggregation, monthly food aggregation call. I think several of you have been on our monthly food aggregation call, and I'll put a list of our listserv on the screen shortly. But in our food aggregation call, we invited others that are working in food system work to these calls. We wanted to know, what are some of the barriers? What are the struggles? What are some goals we should do together to build out a food system? You guys, we thought it would just be food aggregators in Minnesota. All of a sudden, we had Iowa, Wisconsin, North Dakota, South Dakota, Michigan. We had individuals from New York joining the call to find out what we were uncovering and wanted to know how we could build out a food system, what we were doing that was working, and what were some of our barriers. All of these people came together, and immediately we started seeing some action things happen. So, one of the things that was happening was our food hubs in the southern part of the state didn't have access to wild rice. In the eastern, northeastern part of the state, they didn't have a lot of produce until really later into the season, but they had a lot of things that they needed to do for LFPA, farm to school, LFS, the different things. So we decided we wanted to see if we could do hub to hub transportation. How can we get it from one hub to the next hub? And we started mapping our routes. Nice work. You are a rock star. Our routes were pretty fascinating, actually. We realized we're really covering a significant part of the state. But if you see Alexandria there has an orange dot and a blue dot on it, there you go, right by your mouse. There you go. And right above the orange, there you go. And we noticed, gosh, if they're both driving to that community every week, wouldn't that be a neat place for us to put, we call them nodes. I stole the term from Iowa. Node, where we can have either a walk-in cooler or a drop site so that Moorhead Hub can now deliver to Alexandria, save miles. Wilmer Hub can deliver to Alexandria, pick up the stuff from Moorhead, maybe drop off some stuff for Moorhead to get, but having a centralized location where we can see this happening. And to the right, you see Sprout, one of our other food hubs there. The Good Acre is going there. Our Aiken Food Hub is going there. Wilmer is going to start going there. There's all kinds of activity happening there. So why not make them one of our drop sites and begin cross-sector transportation? And as long as these are the routes our hub managers are driving, if you untoggle the routes now, we thought we'd start mapping out some of the farmers we're working with. So here you're seeing not all, but quite a few of our farmers. I want to say thank you to Maeve, who's sitting in our room. She designed this map for us. So Maeve, wave your hand. She's amazing. But mapping out all the farmers in this local food region has been a complicated but incredibly amazing thing for us to look at. Like maybe we can put a node at one of these farms that's kind of centrally located around multiple farms. So Hidden Stream Farm in southeast Minnesota is one of our nodes. 5 or 6 farmers drop their product off at Hidden Stream Farms, and we're able to have less farms to visit when we're picking up and doing distribution. I love that we can do this and collaborate as a team. So if you untoggle the suppliers, one of the things that we have in Minnesota, if you go to Agri Schools, we have Agriculture Research and Innovation grants. These are our farm to school grants. All of these schools identified here get funding from the state to buy local food. And when we looked at the hubs and the schools that were getting that local funding, we were trying to figure out, now we can look, where do we need more hubs? Where do we need to get more access to these things? So thank you again to Maeve for plotting them on here. So now we can look at this with data. We can begin searching together. There's all kinds of other stuff on these platforms, you know, meat plants and routes and current nodes and buyers and all kinds of stuff. But I want to get back to it. So we're going to go back to that PowerPoint. This is where pivoting can become easier when you're not carrying this work alone and we're going through our local food system together. This is where collaboration is key and working with others. Though it seems like they are competitors, they're really not. On the screen here, you're going to see pivots are a moment for us to step back and ask, who else should be in the room? What can we accomplish together that we couldn't do alone? And in collaboration, we can discover a lot of amazing things. So, pivots are an inevitable part of our food system. And by bridging producers and buyers, we can build a resilient food system. I want to bring setbacks don't mean failures. You guys, I've said some of this stuff already. Setbacks don't mean failures. Strategic pivots can clarify purpose, foster collaboration, and accelerate progress in food system. Be innovative, be transparent, bring others to the table. And then on the next one, this is that food aggregation call that I was mentioning. We're now posting it publicly. We have people all across the nation. Anybody that wants to aggregate food, cares about the local food system, sign up for our listserv and join our call. We have about 163 individuals, not just food aggregators, but state staff, funders, food pantries that join our call on a monthly basis. It's the third Tuesday of every month at 10 a.m. And really, the only thing that's going through the listserv are grant opportunities that are happening for local food system work, maybe probably more focused on Minnesota, but federal grants as well. And then also the invitations to our next calls, the Monday prior to those meetings, we do send something out. I will say that this month's call is going to be a really good one. So for the last year and a half, Renewing the Countryside has been working on a project called The Missing Middle, where we've interviewed a lot of farmers and a lot of buyers to find out where their barriers are and how we can work with them to overcome those barriers. And it's the executive directors from those from Sprout, the Good Acre, and Renewing the Countryside that are going to be sharing the results of the missing middle. We're helping our farmers. We're getting local food into those buyers. But that missing middle is that aggregator. Like, how can we support our aggregators? What support is needed? So that's going to be an excellent call. And if you want to make a difference, this is my sassy daughter, go to the farmer's market and buy a tomato, or better yet, a bunch of radishes, because each and every one of us can make decisions and choices with our money and make a difference in our farmers' pockets, because those radishes are making our house payments. If you're interested in our Farmers Market Hub project, if you go to our website, which is listed on top, you can go to For Managers, and there's a Documents tab. Under the Documents tab, we've created a how-to manual, things to consider if you're thinking about doing a food hub in your community. What should you be thinking about? What steps can you take? Because this is a low infrastructure model that does work. It is working. It hasn't been easy. We've pivoted, but it's made a difference. Thank you all.